The success of hip hop is predicated upon being anti-black.
That is just the way that we talk to each other. That is the way that we have a certain type of bond that gets built.
Everybody up there rock with each other. Everybody up there support each other. But I don't think the world knows that.
Yeah. You spend so much time on the negative. When do we get credit for the good things that we did? DIY. Okay, DIYers, over the last week, there was a conversation here with the well-known actor, Malcolm Jamal Warner, spoken word artist, I believe even bass player. He is multi-talented. He is someone that I've always loved seeing and hearing his point of view in interviews. Most known for being on The Cosby Show. And that's a name that, you know, depending on where you at with it may be a little triggering. Malcolm Jamal Warner was on one of my favorite shows in Malcolm and Eddie. With that said, though, he's been going on a bit of a media run in promotion of his new podcast, which we're going to show a clip from here today. But in this clip, he's talking to a Monica Pearson, who has a segment called One-on-One. And he says that he feels like, as the caption here says on Art of Dialogue, hip-hop has become anti-black and that the message in hip-hop that gets exposure are misogyny, murder, mayhem, and disrespect of fellow black people. What do you mean?
The success of hip-hop is predicated upon being anti-black.
Explain.
I'm with her. I got elders that she remind me of. Explain.
Expound.
When you listen to the hip-hop that gets the exposure, right? Conscious hip-hop isn't getting exposure. The messages in hip-hop that get the exposure are misogyny, murder, mayhem, and disrespect of fellow black people.
Sheesh.
Somebody's gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
For those that don't know and need a little bit of context, I am a rapper. And I'm feeling some of the not that my music consists of murder and misogyny and mayhem and disrespect towards black people. I mean, he may argue that because I say nigga sometimes. But it's not meant with that in mind. However, I listen to this and I'm like, okay, OG, Cook, I want to hear where you're coming from. Because I think one thing that we need to separate in this conversation is that there is a difference between hip hop as a culture and mainstream rap as a bastardized version of only one of the elements of hip hop culture. Mainstream rap has been bastardized. We know this. Can we agree? For years, by those who are the powers that be, who have the power to bastardize it and make money up off of it, right? Exploit it. And they continue to run the same play while these rappers are now targets because of the great promotion of these labels. And yet the people who are the execs get to live their lives in peace. They ain't got to worry about nobody walking up on them and wanting to hurt them because of something they said in a song. No, they get to go to their Trader Joe's in peace. But I'm gonna let them cook.
Right. That's not all of the hip hop that exists.
Right, but that's what mainly.
That's what gets. Yeah, like you can't have a popular hip hop song without using the N-word.
Or calling women horrible names.
Yeah.
Why is the use of the word nigga on the same level playing field as calling a woman a bitch? In some circles it's a term of endearment. In some circles it is like these niggas is tripping. Like it's used in different ways, but I do believe this is a generational thing. And we definitely got to address this conversation because I know there's folks in here, shout out to my guy Niles, who feel a strong way about the utilization of the word. It is definitely some folks who are egregious about it. Like folks who do I love Nipsey to death. I love Nipsey. He can't do no wrong. But I sat there and counted in the song Rap Niggas. I ain't nothing like you rap. And I counted, I think it was like 67 niggas in that song. I was like, every time I start to defend this, I hear some shit like this, and I'm like, oh, okay. I kind of get y'all point.
Yeah, it's like our black music has somehow become anti-black, and it's been so normalized that it gets right by us.
And it just did with me.
Yeah, the conditioning, the programming it's so powerful. Like in all of my poetry, I constantly talk about my love-hate relationship with hip hop. Right, but when those of us who are hip hop purists and and we talk about how, the younger generation, hip hop is trash. Well, we're complicit in that because the younger generation.
You said, okay, but did you count Drake saying nigga on Family Matters? No, because I had a problem with the first time he said it. I had a problem with number one. I don't got to count. I feel like it's cringe too. Not to mention that song was said in a way that for the first time, it felt like a rapper was weaponizing that. Drake felt like he was weaponizing that. Kendrick said, we don't want to hear you say nigga no more. And Drake said, nigga! And released the most disrespectful one in the beginning of I couldn't.
Generation grew up watching us and listening to us, listen to what we listen to. The content isn't different. The skill set may not be as great, right? The execution may not be as great as was artistically, but the content really is the same. And most of that content to be Black music, again, is really, a lot of it's anti-Black.
Ooh, excellent.
So, hey, this was a viewpoint that I think that if anybody is able to be level-headed when they listen to this and not be emotional, you understand where he's coming from, right? He is he came out of a generation where it was even more exaggerated, these things being said. Now I'm looking at a lot of the younger rappers, and I'm not trying to put y'all all in the same box at all, but I listen to y'all and I'm like, even when I do my song critique series and I'm questioning the lyrics, I keep getting the same demeanor of, I don't really care about that. I just be making my songs, bro. It's not even that deep. So then I get to the point where I don't even think that they're strongly connected to the words they're saying. I think they're just saying it because it sounds cool and because other people have made a lot of money doing the same thing that they're doing. So I think they're literally mimicking what other people have said that made them feel a certain type of way. But I really feel like a lot of these artists are disconnected from their words.
Took an airline, took one again, crashed a Ferrari, so I hopped in the Benz. I don't even drive. I don't even know how to drive.
But I think also you can't just put that solely on them. We take accountability for ourselves here in hip hop. We must. But I think in mainstream rap, there is a pot of gold on the other end if you abide by their dysfunctional and toxic rules. And there's a lot of people who see that as an opportunity to take themselves out, pull themselves out of some very dire situations to make some life-changing money. And if it means I say a couple of wild things in my 20s, well, shit, I'll go ahead and say a couple of wild things in my 20s. I'm seeing more money than I ever seen. I'm not justifying it, but I'm saying that everybody deserves a perspective instead of just, I don't think that Malcolm Jamal is necessarily demonizing these folks. I just think that he's holding up a mirror. Now, for those who were surprised and felt like it came out of nowhere, you probably didn't check out his podcast. He has a really dope podcast that on episode 1 of Not All Hood, acronym NAH, podcast with Malcolm Jamal Warner and guests, he talks about, co-host Wusi Baraka and Candace Kelly. They talk about many different topics. One of those was the use of the N-word in hip hop. And I'm going to let Malcolm start to cook here because he makes some valid points, some of which we'll talk about.
I'm more against it now is because it's such a it's used so gratuitously.
Right.
It's used without regard. It's so, at this point, for me in hip hop, I think nigga and bitch there should be a moratorium on both of those words in hip hop because it's low lying fruit. It's so easy. Everybody fucking does it to the point that it's corny. Like there are MCs who I love, who I cannot listen to anymore because I love J. Cole, but I had to stop listening to J. Cole because I got tired of hearing nigga and bitch
as much
every
as
2 sentences because he's proven himself to be such a incredible lyricist
that you think it's just too low hanging fruit for him to use those words.
I feel like with the gratuitousness that he does and the regularity that he does. For me, as an artist, it feels lazy.
And once again, he says, as an artist,
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
It's really easy for my generation. It's really easy for us to like immediately say, oh, you don't get it. You don't get it. It's a term of endearment. That's how we've been saying shit. And it is the truth for a lot of us, is that is just the way that we talk to each other. That is the way that we have a certain type of bond that gets built. You say it a certain way, just like you say the B word a certain way. You say, one of the homegirls like, bitch, you better go get your money. Like, it's different than saying, bitch. It's different. It's different because of the utilization of it. We understand it. How do we understand that without having to explain it to every other person that looks like us? Because it is understood for a certain generation. Now, I get this though. And I understand from the perspective of someone like a Malcolm Jamal Warner, who is a spoken word artist himself. I feel the same way when rappers use the same word to rhyme an entire verse, or they bring back a word in a verse. It's lazy. Bro, it's so many words. I feel like that about concepts in general, zooming out. I feel like there's certain concepts in music that are like, there's so much life we have. That's why when I heard okay, I'm gonna leave 3 Stacks alone. No, I'm not. When I heard him talk about, we want to talk about colonoscopy, I got so mad. Because I'm like, bro, you got so many things that you have seen. You know, I was talking to Justin from Company Man about that. He said he's probably seen so many things walking in these trains with that big ass flute. There's probably stories that he could share with us that would change our whole viewpoint on certain things. You're just not sharing them. But I think that also that is the responsibility of folks who are around my age group to be the first generation of successful artists that gracefully, as a collective, not just one or two, collectively, move ourselves into our 40s and be the best version of ourselves. Why? Because we're probably one of the first generations that didn't have to go through the industry to find success independently, right? And I'm not saying this hasn't been independent artists before, but I'm saying the way that it's currently built today, we have access. We have the ability to talk to people at a moment's notice. I'm here talking right now to 700 individuals. That wasn't made available 20 years ago. Right? So we have certain things at our disposal. And I look at this and I'm like, man, we have to be the generation that turns this shit up in our 40s. We have to be, so that we can extend the career of an artist that's in their 20s that really loves this and wants to continue into this without feeling guilty about doing what they're doing.
Again, I think that it's a cultural.
And I love J. Cole. Just make sure we,
if you want to come join us, have your people contact my people. We'll make it happen. All right.
Also, too, on the point of J. Cole saying, nigga, I got this idea that sometimes rappers of that stature that you know have more words, I just think they add nigga for seasoning. Like, no, wait, hold on. I'm giving you an example. None of y'all can see me. None of y'all can see me, bitch. It feels different. It feels different. I can't. I'm sorry if that's a terrible example, OG. And you know what? Maybe that's a generational thing. Are we not allowed to have, because I know damn well, as much as my grandparents used to say, oh, I hate this rapping shit. I can't stand the way that y'all talk about your brothers and sisters. And then I just do like this. I go like this. Is that right, Grandpa? Is that right, Grandpa? Is that right?
Okay. I spoke it to the east, and I spoke it to the west. I spoke it to the woman that I love the best.
Grandpa, I found this in your vinyl collection. Don't play, Grandpa.
But the bottom line is that it's too much for you. But then you get into the world of, okay, well then how many N words, how many B words? We can't do it. Like one's okay, two's okay. Gatekeeper. Do you know what I mean? Sure. And then at that point, turn it off.
Waisi just owned up to being gatekeeper to the word.
That's right. You got the key.
But
it's not just in our music.
Right.
I claim, like, my name is Waisi Baraka.
Right.
Black Blessing. This was going to have some issues about the word nigga and blackness.
There it is. I want to get to this last thing because I feel like it's so dope to hear so many of these conversations. These are very mature conversations happening in hip hop that I always use the example. I'm like, we've seen examples of this, right? This is nothing new. But I think that in the climate that we're in, I think that with the things that are at stake, I think with the conversations of culture being at an all-time high, it feels like, what's up, my bro, Eloquent? I feel like this is really dope that we're seeing a lot of these conversations happen. One very, very important voice in all that has been Vince Staples, because he's been somebody that was very consistent, even through the Drake versus Kendrick of there's bigger fish to fry right now. And seeing two black men tear each other down. I was going to say something crazy about Drake. I left it alone. Curtis, stop this light skin on light skin hate. It ain't no light skin and light skin hate. I got drafted last week. You didn't see?
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and
I got traded. I'm no longer part of the light skin team anymore. Yeah. Go watch ESPN. The little news ticker at the bottom. Go watch. This nigga got traded. I got traded. we got to go ahead and get to this last clip here because I think that Vince Staples says something that is very timely, and I think it's in line with some of the stuff that Malcolm Jamal Warner was getting at. Check this out.
Attached to what you said is you talk about, you know, you want to be a part of change. You want to be a representation of, like, you know, the new mindset that people from the hood in the hood should have. It's not always about the escape. It's about improving. It's about making this thing better. We had a moment recently where you get to see the West Coast come to a place where everybody's on the same page and stage of just like, yo, unity. We all are fucking with one another and we all should. And this moment is one that was synergized, of course, by K-Dot. And you saw Bloods, Crips, you saw...
Deal is a deal.
I mean, you know, you get to go down what the fuck it all is. I mean, goddamn, the list is long.
So to give a little context, he's talking about the pop-out show. He's getting Vince's point of view on it. Vince is going to cook into this one particular part where he's saying how he misses old stories, older black men's stories.
There was a clip where you was just like, damn, man, you were mad because you were on tour, but you would have did anything to be there, to be a part of that moment. What do you think the next stages are now?
I think the word that you said to me that's most important in that statement is being able to witness it and it being cemented in history for the rest of the world to see. And that's a big, you know, thanks to Tim. That's a big thanks to Dot as well. It's interesting because the unity and the camaraderie been here since the 90s. Like, big in part to Jim Brown doing a lot of groundwork, big in part of a lot of dudes from these neighborhoods, from these communities doing the groundwork. I think the rest of the world knowing is important because if the rest of the world sees it and the rest of the world can champion it, and we see progress being championed, and if we can see progress being championed, then more people lean towards progress because we all want to be championed. It's human nature. I think when you think about relationship that Top has with certain dudes, and my conception, these people that have been in music, that have been in the streets, that are very important and very vital. You think about the fact that, it's always been connectivity amongst these neighborhoods. It's always been connectivity amongst these people. We just don't get to see behind the curtain that much. And that's the privilege of having purity in artists. Having purity in artists. You have someone like Kendrick who has been sharing his story, sharing his life, sharing his family, sharing his background. So he's comfortable sharing the progress. He's comfortable pulling the veil. You get what I'm saying? DJ Head, Mustard, these people have always brought people together. Like I said, when I work with Mac, and then I work with Absol, and I work with Q, and I work with Kendrick, all that is connectivity to say, okay, if you're on this side of the fence, you're on this side of the fence, we here together. Every time I see Top, he's encouraging me or trying to share something that he thinks is a good idea for me or something that he might need help on. Same with anybody that's from here.
Can we just pause it right there, man? He ain't even got to the best part. He ain't even got to the best part, but I want to go ahead and expand upon this a little bit because, you know, when I think we hear criticism from Malcolm Jamal Warner and other elders, it's not that they're wrong. That's not what we're saying here. We're saying that even though it may not be up to your standard today, it doesn't mean that these things are not underway.
It seems we now face the grim reality of the dystopian future experts warned us about.
For those that think that AI is the answer, I hope you saw that cringe video on Canva. I think the prompt was Hamilton with break dancers. Bitch, that whole damn event should have been canceled. You see, the nuances, the chemo to their cancer. It's the pieces of the culture they can't handle. It's the reason why these vultures got no quality. The reason why they want your music in more quantities. They say the music business done, but that's not true. I'm still fighting for my art like it's bomb-proof. I'm still fighting for my heart, bitch, I'm John Q. I know a renaissance is coming, guess I'm on cue. You need to stop with the doomsday predictions, cause what is artificial to a real ass nigga?
Artificial intelligence gone rogue.
AI has overtaken the government.
I am not afraid of your A&I. I got Kaylin Ellis, bitch, I'll never die. I am not afraid of your A&I, unless it's Allen Iverson on the baseline, run it back.
It doesn't mean that there are not steps being made. And I don't believe for a second that in order for it to be true change, it has to go according to somebody else's book. No. I think that whatever you look at a certain group and you're like, I can't stand the way that y'all talk to each other, how y'all say things. Well, that's the language amongst this tribe. Respect them when they start to find progress amongst their tribe. It's not about you being on the outside of that tribe. It's about them in the inside of this other tribe, right? They're figuring it out. They're talking to each other in a way that they understand one another, and they say, This is why I can trust you, because you sound like me. You look like me. These steps are happening, but they're baby steps. And they're steps that may not feel as big on the outside to other people, but they're happening. They're currently happening. You got to just make sure you're not so detached from hip hop. And I say this respectfully to Malcolm Jamal Warner. Make sure you're not so detached from it. I'm not saying that you're not attached, that you're not in the weeds with these folks. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to get all religious, but my mom always told me, like, Jesus didn't have no shame washing the feet of like folks who were known in that place to be Jezebels, right? He didn't. If we're talking about being God-like, we're talking about loving our people, then love them where they're at and have some kind of hope that they're going to make it to another place, that'll make it to another place that will help them not become a version of you, but the best version of them. You know what I'm saying?
Literally, we think about Big Von in the Bay being the #1 person to play my records, but we have to do a better job of sharing this information and letting people know the love I get from Too Short, the love I get from Quick. I had a studio session. DJ Quick was under the board fixing it because we couldn't use some of the stuff in the studio. He said, bring me a quarter, and he said a quarter, a piece of paper, and a screwdriver. And it's like...
Not tools, by the way.
No, not at all.
I think he probably could have solved it a lot faster
with some tools.
With some tools.
And it's seeing this man who my sister told me was like the boogeyman in Compton growing up, because he just knew how to do so much musically and was a genius. They was growing up and he was like he the one. Seeing him do something for me. But we got to do a better job of sharing that. And I think he did a good job of sharing and showing the unity and camaraderie, because the crazy thing about it, everybody up there knew each other. Yeah. Everybody up there rock with each other. Everybody up there support each other. But I don't think the world knows that. Yeah. So I think the next step is just to continue sharing and to continue showing the process and the progress. Like when I do verses and things for people that's from out here, I ain't never asked nobody for $1. But the reason I never asked nobody for $1 is because they never asked me for $1.
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it. It hits different, don't it? It hit different, don't it? It hit different. I hate to keep hashing back on that last story, but it hit different when you hear Vince say that he doesn't charge anybody for no verses, as opposed to Yachty trying to convince us that Drake doesn't care about that money and don't care about them verses. It only hit a little different. What's different? If it hits different, have you asked yourself, why does it hit different? I truly believe him when he says that. Matter of fact, I heard a song that he was featured on from an artist named Traffic. It's a song called, what's the name of that damn song? It's off a project called All Blue Everything. It's called On the Grind. And I'm like, Vince Staples is an artist that doesn't need to necessarily do no feature runs because he is a name himself, but he's still doing this. He's still making sure that he makes the time to do this. I look at that and I'm like, I believe him, because he's out here actually doing it, connected to the people, and he brings something of his own to the table.
Not Kendrick, not Q, not E40, not nobody has ever asked, not Quick, nobody asked. So nobody's asked me for nothing. Kaylani, nobody's asked for $1. So I think it's only right to share the same thing, but we got to show the world, we got to show the kids, because what happens usually in this environment is you get in trouble, you get brainwashed, indoctrinated, you go to jail and everybody friends, and then you try to get out and tell people it's cool when you go to jail. We can alleviate that step through art, through commerce, through opportunities, through education. We can alleviate that step to where you don't got to get incarcerated and you don't got to sit down and eat and you don't got to pop the shield over somebody who considered to be your enemy. Now we can see through this art and through our creativity that we are all on the same page if we want to be. And
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it. Now, I know in other cultures they may hear this and they're like, how hard is it to stay out of jail? Oh my God. This ain't about you. This is about understanding folks who are in a family dynamic in which you've seen people try to do the best they can, right? I was having a conversation with somebody else that on Twitter who randomly hit me up and was angry about something I tweeted. I tweeted something along the lines of, don't crash out, wait it out. And they took that and immediately I could feel the energy of off their trauma. What they did, I wasn't talking to them no more. I was talking to their trauma. Because he's like, man, fuck that. If somebody come after me, I'm for sure finna. That wasn't the energy. That wasn't energy. But I told him straight up, I said, this is not about being passive. This is not about being nonviolent. This is about saying there are people right now who are locked up who are good ass people. Maybe hard for some of you to believe, but there's some good ass human beings also in that environment who made one terrible fucking decision. And they have to remember and live with that decision every single day that they're in there. Does that mean that you write them off? No, because that means that I would write off family and friends. There's some amazing people in there who have made some not so amazing decisions, some terrible decisions. So what I'm saying is they probably would understand where I'm coming from when I say, don't crash out, wait it out. Because most times that first reaction is the one that tears this whole situation up. So when I hear Vince Staples say, let's do what we can to meet people where they're at and try to alleviate some of these steps that are unnecessary. To me, that sounds like somebody that's saying, I'm not going to wag my finger at you. And I don't think Malcolm Jamal was all in that bag. But he's saying, let me meet you where you're at and let's figure out where you're making the same mistake. And let's try to change course on that. You know what I mean? I'm gonna let him continue to cook because it gets better.
I really think we should be grateful for what we saw, because it's always been camaraderie amongst Crips and Bloods. It's always been camaraderie around black people when it comes to music and certain things. Of course, we all have our tiffs. That's humanity. But for a large part of time, we believed that it was just straight up whole banging, set tripping. And when the rest of the world, but out here, we always knew it just depends. It's case by case basis. And if it's a case by case basis, if we show so much overwhelming support and love, it's impossible for it not to change. And not even to get too much into it, but that song and these moments that people think might be negative, it's doing a lot of good out here in these streets. And I mean, to the point that people is, peace treatying, people is.
I think the older the wise,
exactly,
the smart, it's clear, right?
And we gotta give these children a chance to grow.
Here it goes.
And if we show these kids through the music and through the art that we create that we need young stories, but I want to see older black men. I want to see older black women. I want to see older families. I want to see these things represented in music and art and commerce. Because when I was a kid and I seen the Steve Harvey show and I seen Martin and I seen all these things, I look forward to being an adult and having these experiences. So I think it's up to us to create those moments as well.
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
I'm seeing a lot of folks in here who understand what this time period is. I'm seeing a lot of cynicism, and I don't, like I said, once again, I don't know if I'm talking to somebody's trauma when I talk to them this way, so I want to be respectful. But I hope you understand there are some things that are happening that have never happened before. And when those things happen, that means it's going to be a domino effect of other things, minor or major, whatever you want to view it as, that are going to now change as a result of that. Cynicism at this point, cynicism is friendly language to the enemy. Cynicism is friendly language to the enemy. So when I hear people like, it's gonna always be like that, they're gonna always lock your black ass up. Well, believing that is also going to ensure that you never get out of that. Believing that is going to say that I have no reason to learn any de-escalation. It's going to tell you that there's no hope in trying to do something different. And that is the exact, if I was to pinpoint that, I will put that on the enemy. Whoever that enemy is would want you to believe that there is no hope in changing anything. That sounds like the language of an enemy. But I'm done. I'm gonna let him cook more. But it's so true. Why don't we have more of the Steve Harvey show, the Bernie Mac show? Why don't we have more shows that show us living very normal lives, not extraordinary, living very normal lives and going through very normal things as older black men, older black women? It seems like they want to get rid of that. It seems like they want to push that off of the table. It seems that they only want us to eat one thing, believe one thing. Even though we see before our eyes things we have never seen before. When we hear elders of ours say, I've never seen that actually happen before, that to me represents an opportunity. I need to see it. I know I needed to see it coming up. As I was coming up, I didn't see many examples of what success looks like for an independent artist at 40. I saw artists that were 40, but I didn't see them embrace it. I didn't see them talk about it. I saw them make that a topic they wanted to avoid. Now we're in a place where we see podcasters who are in their 40s that are saying, I'm not stopping rap. When I look at Cameron, yeah, he could be petty sometimes. Yeah, he could say a lot of crazy shit. But Cameron is still rapping his ass off in them freestyles on the Is What It Is podcast. That's hope. That's where it starts. When you see, yes, thank you, FN, Common and Pete Rock do what they're doing. When you see LL Cool J, regardless of how you feel about the music, they're doing it unapologetically. When you see them cooking the way they do, Rakim too, yes, Danny Brown too. When you see them cook the way they cook at this age, that gives somebody hope. That makes them believe maybe I don't have to give up my aspirations to become a more successful independent artist. Maybe I don't have to give that up in my 30s because I'll be embarrassed of what I look like to everybody else. By the time that happens, if you're 20 now, by the time you get in your 40s, you better be thanking these older rappers that you're clowning. They're going to be the reason why you get to extend your career 10 more years. They're currently opening up the doors right now. You know, we say all that sweet shit. We said all that sweet shit about where we're heading. And just like that, we are hit with the stories of Curtis, don't ruin this. Don't do it, Curtis. Don't do it. These niggas, Soulja Boy and Bow Wow, are doing Crank That at SeaWorld Summer Concert Series. Oh my gosh.
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
Is this what Malcolm Jamal Warner was really talking about? I hate to end on this note because we gonna balance it out, but we gotta be realistic about what's going on. Ma'am, this is why I say we must separate the twerking at SeaWorld. I know twerking is it should be an Olympic sport at this point because it's done everywhere. What are we doing? You're twerking at SeaWorld. This is what Malcolm Jamal Warner was talking about. That's why he looks so... I don't blame him. But what are we... Is Soulja Boy the first rapper to rap at SeaWorld, ain't he? He probably is. But this is what I'm getting at. There's two sides to this. There's two sides of this coin. You know, usually I do this story end on a positive note, but no, there's some shit that got to get cleaned up. There's some things that got to get cleaned up. And I don't say that in a demeaning way, like we were above the Superman now. Oh, now watch me, you. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is this, because I don't want Big Soulja, Big Draco. I don't want him yelling at the top of his lungs at this video on Instagram. That's not what I'm looking at. What I'm saying is, for those that know better, do better. We've come so far, but we have so far to go. And it's not necessarily all our fault either. It's not our fault. It's not all our fault. We got to take responsibility for our actions, but there has been a multi-billion-dollar business that has thrived off of our ignorant displays of our culture, our exploitive displays of our culture. The most name brand version, and we know anything about name brands, that ain't the best food. It's the most expensive and it's the least quality. It's the same shit with the music. It's the most expensive and it's the least focus on quality. So I think that we, especially Malcolm Jamal Warner, as a spoken word artist, as somebody who I feel like is very, very entrenched in this hip hop culture, it's very important, I think, that you separate in these videos what mainstream rap is doing and what hip hop has been standing on and what it represents. You spend so much time on the negative. When do we get credit for the good things that we did? And this is not from a place of victimhood, but when do we ever get credit for doing it the right way? Because in that moment, I know that it's going to get clicks, him saying what he's saying. But why not use that moment to highlight somebody who is doing it the right way? Those are my thoughts, though, DIYers. You let me know what you think. DIYers, if you enjoyed this content, make sure that you hit the like button and maybe even consider subscribing. Come on, man. Stop being greedy. Peace.